Hi everyone, good morning, it's morning here. And today I'm doing a combination. So I'm going to be starting teaching a tune, a Finnish folk tune that I've been loving for a very long time. But I'm also going to be using it to help me give you an example of playing a tune from the heart and learning to overcome obstacles to playing as well, hopefully, too. So ignore the fact that my lyre is tuned perhaps not like yours in terms of mine will sound a bit lower than yours will. My A string is a whole tone lower than your A string. Don't worry about that. It's not about that today. The notes I give you, if you play them, will make a nice tune. So please don't panic about that. But to tune up my whole lyre and let it settle again would take a very long time. So what I wanted to play for you today and talk about is this tune, and the name escapes me. I will put it in the description box below, however, and I will do a demonstration of it with some drone accompaniment in a separate video probably. So it starts on, I'm playing it anyway, on the A string, okay, and it sounds like this. So it's a beautiful tune, quite an old tune, I think quite well known as well, and there are lots of renditions of it on YouTube. And the reason I love this tune is its perfect simplicity, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, the importance of simple music that's easy to play in helping us overcome any obstacles that we might be encountering in our musical practice. So when I was practicing classical music, it was always about the next tune that was harder than the previous tune. That's all that was ever put in front of me. This one's harder, this grade is higher, etc., etc. And I lost the pleasure of music in always trying to compete with myself over increasing my technical ability. And I'm now on a journey in the opposite direction to almost not forget technique, but put it second, always put it second to my emotional connection with what I'm playing. And the best way you can do that is to choose a simple tune. So I've got a few wee notes here, just so that I don't start rambling and going off on tangents. I have been known to do that. So choice of tune, very, very important. When we feel a kind of creative block of any kind, going back to a tune you love and a tune that you can play or can learn very easily is a really good place to start. What is for me anyway. I'm kind of really just expressing the things that I've done to help myself overcome my challenges along the way, and things that you know, sometimes I've recommended to others. So choosing a tune that's really, really simple, and if that's too much, because sometimes it is, I was very lucky that I had some lessons from a very, very gifted teacher, harp teacher, who had studied at the Juilliard School many, many years ago. I wish I had paid more attention and studied harder and attended more lessons when I'd had the opportunity, but life got in the way. One thing that she told me was that even though she was an accomplished harpist by the time she got to the academy or the school, the first thing her teacher did was stop her playing. And he gave her one note, one finger and one note, very zen, to play. And until he was satisfied, or he felt she was satisfied, probably more likely, with the sound, then he allowed her to move on until she'd got that absolute harmony of technique, sound, and emotion in one note. So imagine if you're this accomplished musician and having to start all the way back at the beginning. And yet, if there are many philosophies that tell us this is exactly the way to achieve a mastery that can't be done any other way, really. So finding a simple tune and thinking musicianship over technique. Technique has to be there, true. And a lot of technique is about comfort too. It's no good playing a piece efficiently if it's uncomfortable. If you're building tension into your hand, that's not a good long-term practice. I can tell you, I have done it. I have the repetitive stress injury to prove it. So comfort is part of technique as well. Feeling comfortable about playing so that you're not building stress, which then leads to mistakes because your muscles are tense, So that's one thing. The second thing I wanted to think about, and I had to learn for myself, is what my playing style was. Who am I? So, I've played Baroque, I've played classical, I've played rock, I've played romantic, I've played medieval, I've played, but who am I? What do I want to play? What's my personality like? What's my musical personality like? What's my style? And I love listening to Baroque music, but I know that it doesn't lend itself to my musical personality. However much I love it, my musical personality tends to merge better with other forms of music. That's just an example. But I love Baroque, I absolutely love it. And the same goes with different tunes. You may love a tune as it's played by somebody else, but when you come to play it, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. And it may be that you need to adapt that tune to your own style of playing. Or it may just be that you just prefer listening to it and you're better at playing other things, and that's okay too. I love orchestral music. I can't play an entire, but I still take great pleasure in listening to it and adapting tunes to suit my own personal style. So people ask me about lyre books. I don't use them at all. I take a tune, I hear it, or I see it, or I've learned it on another instrument. I adapt it so that I can play it on my lyre or any other instrument I want to play. And I adapt it to my level. And that's the other thing, really. If I'm not comfortable playing a thing, and I'm not talking about not making mistakes, because as you'll see, every single tune I play has errors in it. In fact, everything I've ever played in my entire life has errors in it. There is no such thing as perfection to be had, especially if you're talking to the musician who's played it. Probably even the most proficient musicians will say, well, I could have done that bit better. So what I've learned to do is let other people take pleasure in my mistakes in a way, and see that actually they don't matter to them. So who are you playing for? Of course we're playing for ourselves. But if somebody else is really enjoying our music and all we can see is our mistakes, then we're missing something. We're missing an experience that is wonderful. So it's hard for me because I'm a perfectionist by nature, but I now have learned slowly, and I'm still learning, to be open to the experience of making mistakes, while I'm playing, or it not going as I would like it to go, and taking great joy out of the fact that people enjoy my playing, you know, regardless of the errors. And that's wonderful. Yes, there'll be perhaps some people who might be critical of technique, critical of execution, critical of the rendition, the way you've chosen to adapt something. You can't always please everyone, but I always feel like if I've made even one person happy, then it's worth it, isn't it? It's worth it. So that's one thing I try and think about. Who am I playing for? Is it just, you know, me and my ego? You know, am I just trying to kind of be the best that I can be, or am I just trying to bring people joy? And I know that it's the latter that makes me happier. No matter how proficient I have been in the past or I ever get, I don't think that it would ever make me happy, because there's always another level. There's always another level mentally of where you would like a piece to go. But if your aim is to just give people joy and to allow them to you know, wallow in the music, to immerse themselves in an emotional experience, then that takes a huge pressure off you. Because you're sharing something then, rather than presenting something. You're sharing an experience and inviting them, in a sense, into your heart. As you are playing, you're inviting them into an emotional world that can be shared collectively. And I think that's one of the most precious things about music. So those are really the kind of, that's the talking bit. So the reason I like this tune is because it moves me emotionally every time I play it or hear it. I prefer listening to other people play it rather than hearing myself play it. But I also love playing it, and it's not perfect. I'm probably making you know, my rendition of it is probably not as perfect or authentic or literal, perhaps. I don't know is the answer. I try not to even worry too much about those things anymore. I have been in sessions where people are arguing over one note in a folk tune as to whether it should be this or that. And, you know, does it matter? Which do you prefer? Which one do you feel like playing today? You know, that's what, and then I infuriate everyone. Everyone gets cross with me and they're like, oh, she doesn't understand. You know? But I think it's important to love what you play and play what you love, and then you'll find the audience for you. And I prefer playing things quite slowly. I've had, as I've said in my previous video, negative experiences of trying to play pieces too fast. And I think what happens there is that my emotion can't connect quickly enough with the note I'm playing. And that's why when I find myself speeding something up, I deliberately try and slow it down. It's a natural byproduct of nerves to speed your playing up. But you can become incredibly musically proficient and make beautiful sounds that affect other people just by playing very few simple notes, if you're connected to them. And so that's kind of where I focus my learning these days. So my A string, for example, okay, so my instrument is not an expensive instrument. Really isn't. I got it off Amazon and it's okay, you know, it does the job, it's okay. But it's up to me to get the most out of that instrument. And to do that, sometimes it is just about breaking everything down to a couple of notes, to feeling the connection between your finger, the string, and your mind and heart. So So for me, I like contact with the string. I know some people like to play with a nail, and that's fine too. But there's something that happens in the mind before you play a string or play a note. There's something that happens. There's an emptiness. And I've learned to wait for that emptiness before I play. If I play without that emptiness, that clarity being there, then what happens is it's a shaky foundation. Let's put it that way. It's a shaky foundation. So sometimes I breathe and I wait for my breath to settle before I begin to play. And I allow pauses to happen in my music as well. So I could play that completely differently and not be present in my music. So if I played it like this, and even there, I'm because I love this tune, it's hard not to be present in it. But I could start to retreat, if you like, mentally. And if you start thinking about technique too much, and if you start thinking about the notes too much, that is what happens because you've moved into the left brain sphere. And that's what the left brain does. It's really good at it. You know, it's all the logic and the rationality, and we need it. But it's learning to kind of find the balance between that side and the musicianship that comes from the creative right brain as well. So that's what I kind of thought to say today. And I'll put a teaching tutorial up on this tune. And you know, happy playing really. Any questions, please leave them below. As I say, all I'm doing is talking kind of from my personal experience. I'm no expert in anything, right? I'm really not. It is always just my hope that by sharing my experiences and what I play, that it helps other people in some way. That's pretty much you know, why I have my channel, to share my music in the hopes that it will bring joy and an emotional experience to people, and also, you know, that the joy of learning an instrument as well. And so please keep playing and enjoy your playing. And as I say, any questions, just pop them in the comment section below. Take care. Bye.